Hello and welcome back, Kevin247 subscribers and new viewers. Today I want to talk a little bit about a gun I'm very fond of and I just picked up a couple of weeks ago. For those of you who are more of the OG subscribers, you might remember some of my older videos where I actually talked about guns that I own and that I like and just kind of did a little show and tell series. And, despite kind of the low quality back then and minimum effort, the videos did well and people really enjoyed them. So I figured I'd give this another shot. So here's my Springfield Hellcat. Can you see it? Here, let me back up. This is the beauty of a wireless microphone. Backing up. It's on me somewhere. And now I've probably backed up so far that you can't really see me anyway. If you looked for it and couldn't see it, and I wasn't simply just too far away, here's why. This is a little awkward. There we go. Here she is. So, that is one of my favorite ways to carry. First things first, chamber check and mag check. Okay, chamber is clear, did the finger check. Magazine, also clear. Alright, so yeah, this is the Springfield Hellcat. I had the one, or I bought the one with the manual slide safety right here. This is ambi, so if you're a right-handed or left-handed shooter, you can use that. I also bought the one that is ready to take a red dot sight. You just take out these two screws right here, and you can add the red dot by doing that, which I think is really cool. But that kind of leads me into the first thing I want to talk about. And honestly, I don't think it needs a red dot. It's kind of ironic that one of the few concealed carry options with a absolutely stellar sight has an option to add a red dot, when that is not a very common thing in this segment. You get what you want when you really don't need it. So that's what you're going to be looking at. The front is a night sight. It is glow in the dark, and it does glow in the dark quite well. And the rear is a white U sight, which is something fairly unique. I'm no gun enthusiast, but I haven't seen these on a lot of handguns that I've shot. In fact, I've never seen this before. And especially not on a small micro type 9mm like this. I can tell you firsthand, I really love the sight. I think it is sort of the icing on the cake for an already great gun. Going to the range, I was able to quickly acquire targets, quickly draw this and line up my sight picture and just have a very accurate and fast shot. In fact, it was a lot faster than what I had with my Bersa Thunder 380 Plus, which of course is more of a budget pistol. But it was a nice change of pace for me upgrading to something like this and having a much better sight. And I think these are better than really any of the other guns in this segment, but you don't have to take it from me. Other reviewers are kind of saying the same thing from what I've seen. Of course, I watched a bunch of them before I bought this. The other and probably the most amazing thing about this gun is the size, and not only just the size, because it's not that hard to make a small, striker-fired type platform these days, but it is hard to make one that's small and has a high capacity and is also a double stack. So for comparison's sake, let me get out my previous everyday carry, and that was, like I just mentioned a few moments ago, a Bersa Thunder 380 Plus. Okay, once again, chamber check, finger check, visual, chamber is clear, magazine check, magazine is clear. Okay. So yeah, this is Bersa. This is my Bersa Thunder 380 Plus. I'm going to decock the hammer there. This is a DASA double stack 380 auto pistol offering from Bersa. I would say it's cheap enough to be considered a budget offering. It's not extremely budget, but it is more in the budget side than the, higher expensive side of guns. I really am a huge fan of this, and like I said, it was my everyday carry. So this is what I would consider to be a smaller gun. You can kind of see it in my hand, and I don't know, it's kind of a goofy comparison because everyone has different hand sizes. But that's, it almost sort of fits in your hand. It's a little bit bigger. But this is smaller than most 9mm, pistols that people would carry. And it's pretty compact. It's a little bit thick, but a lot of hammer-fired pistols are going to be a little bit thicker. That's just how they are. This is a 15-round magazine, and of course you can carry one in the chamber, which I do, so it's 16 rounds. This Springfield Hellcat with the larger magazine that comes with it is a 13-round, and you can carry one in the chamber and make it into a 14-round. Now, they do sell magazine extenders, and I believe you can actually take these two 15-round magazines without, having the magazine length grow very much, which is really, really nice, because then you have the same capacity as this Bursa here, but it's a 9mm and not a 380. And also, it's smaller. Take a look at this. Now, I have the Hellcat in front of the Bursa as much as I can. And as you can see, the barrel is probably at least half an inch longer. The slide is sitting, trying to get a good angle for you guys here. The slide is sitting probably about half an inch higher. And here's where you really start to see a difference. The thickness. The Bursa is a good bit thicker, and that's one of the most important things to look for in a concealed carry option, because the thickness is really what you feel when you're carrying something like this in your pocket or on your waist or appendix or whatever it might be. And it's also what really prints and, will possibly give others the cue that you have a gun, which you want to avoid, obviously, if you're concealed carrying. I can say in my hand, this still feels really good. It does feel smaller than the Bursa. And I don't want to turn this video into a, Bursa versus Hellcat comparison, because that would be strange and nobody really asked for that. But just going from that everyday carry to this one, I gotta say it's kind of like a relief. I don't really know quite how to describe it, but it's sort of like when you've had that cheap bicycle you've had for a long time and it's heavy and not very fun to ride, and then you go and buy something very light and you can't believe how different it is, and you are going farther without even trying. I'm not even a bicycle rider, but I imagine you can picture what that is like if you're not, and if you are, you know what I'm talking about. This from before carrying was a little bit of a pain. It wasn't something I did as much as I should have. I definitely wasn't getting into a regular habit. With this right here, I can carry this on my waist all day long, and I actually forget it's there a lot of times. And that's extremely nice. For you to forget that you're carrying a gun is kind of the ultimate goal. Well, you don't want to physically forget that you don't want to actually forget that you're carrying a gun, because that would be bad. But for you to not have it, pushing on your waist or your hips or whatever it might be, and it be putting so little pressure on you that you don't even have the mental thought that it's there in the back of your head is obviously a nice thing. And this is definitely like this. I would say this is not a perfect pocket carry pistol. It's right on the edge of being too big, but for a double stack 9mm, it can actually do it. That is probably my favorite way to carry this gun. Even in a pair of sweatpants, which is not the easiest thing to pocket carry in. These have zipping pockets, which is nice. It fits in there pretty good. And especially if you aren't looking for it, you probably won't realize that this is a gun. It kind of, inside the holster, it just looks like a wallet or a phone or something like that. So it's small enough to not necessarily tip people off who, especially people who are not like in law enforcement or something like that, and they're trained to look for guns. I'm going to get this on the measuring table just so we can get sort of an official length, width, and height. And I'll just also compare that to the Bursa, just so you guys have a bit of a reference. All right, so I've lined this up as good as I possibly can. From what I'm seeing, the sight actually is a big part of this. It's just a little bit over 4.5 inches. It's about 4 inches and 3/4, I would say, almost exactly for the height. Maybe slightly more. Yeah, actually it might be slightly less. So, you know, it's a little over 4.5 inches. And then we're basically right at 6 inches for the length. And then the width is a little bit harder to measure. It's a little bit over an inch, I would say, especially when you take the slide safeties into account. But it is just about an inch. All right, let's look at the Bursa. Okay, so with the sight, the Bursa is every bit of 5 inches. I'll scoot this back just a little bit more. For the length, it is over 6.5 inches by a little bit here. And once again, the width is really kind of hard to do, but just trying to look at this from top down, I would say we're right at about 1.5 inches, maybe even a little bit more. And here's a little side by side for those of you who are interested in that. Now, I want to go into holsters a little bit more in a second because I have a few ways of carrying this Springfield Hellcat. But first, before I dive too deep into that, I actually just want to talk about, you know, performance, accuracy, that type of thing, because I'm sure plenty of you are interested in that. So I've taken this to an indoor range. I've shot it. I've run probably about 200 rounds through it, maybe a little bit less. And, you know, first off, right off the bat, I was highly, highly impressed with the accuracy. For this thing's tiny size, it does not shoot like a micro compact. It shoots incredibly well. It has great follow-up. The recoil is going to be, you know, a little bit more snappy than what you would have with the full size, of course. But it recoils in a way that is not really jarring or uncomfortable or, you know, makes you have trouble with follow-up shots, at least for me. The recoil is very manageable. I was actually able to do mag dumps that were somewhat accurate with this gun, at least hitting center of mass or better. I was incredibly impressed with this. Now let me show you the trigger pull on this. Once again, just to be extra safe, you know, there is no round in the chamber. The magazine is in fact clear. So here's a take-up. It's got a reasonably low amount of take-up, I would say. And there's the wall right there. And there's the trigger. I didn't notice this really when I was shooting it, but it kind of has a phenomenon where I guess you hit the wall here and you can pull it a little bit further and then it'll fire. So just doing this, it actually doesn't feel like an amazing trigger, to be honest. On the range, I was thinking how good this trigger was. I actually really, really liked it. So that's a bit strange. But I think in practice, when this actually, you know, is loaded and you're firing it, I had no complaints about the trigger. I really enjoyed it, actually. I'm not going to dry fire this too much because Springfield recommends that you don't do that, actually. So, you know, I should get caps or snap caps, whatever they're called. I forgot the name. But I think the trigger is at least, you know, above average. I think it's a fine, perfectly adequate trigger. I don't have anything to check the weight. I was watching another video and it was anywhere between 5 and 7 pounds. You should watch some other people's videos to validate that if that's a concern for you. But it's not overly weighty. It's not anything that, you know, is out of the realm of what you should be used to for any pistol, really, especially a micro compact or, you know, whatever you want to call this. Okay, so let's get into my holster options because I actually have 3 already. That's how you know you like a gun, is when you keep buying different holsters because you know you're going to carry it all the time. So, like I showed you, the first one is the sticky holster. This is probably my favorite way to carry out of all of the other options. It's the most comfortable. It's honestly the most concealed. It's a just simple, casual, really easy way to carry, and you can still draw and get to your weapon very quickly. So I am a big fan of the sticky holster. It doesn't always stick inside my pocket. Sometimes I end up sort of drawing it like this and kind of throwing the holster off, you know, when I'm doing practice and trying to get acclimated to the safety and drawing my my firearm. But I do really like that. I do really like that holster. My second favorite way to carry the Hellcat is this holster right here. This is a Relentless Tactical leather holster. I got this off of Amazon. I think it was under $50. It's real leather. It smells like real leather. It smells really good, actually. And it fits this gun quite well. So that's kind of what it would look like. And I can't really show it to you on my waist because I'm wearing sweatpants. It wouldn't make any sense. But I really like this. And one of the main reasons I like this holster is because it's so comfortable. It kind of shields your waist. You know, this gun does have sort of rough texture on the grips and the slide and stuff like it should for accurate and good shooting. But it's nice not having it rub up against your waist. And leather is soft and malleable, and you know, it's really, really just comfortable to wear. My third and probably least favorite carry option is this Kydex style minimalist trigger holster. It says Q series. There's nothing inherently wrong with this. There we go. Certainly your trigger can't get pulled with this. It's very solid. It's very difficult for me to even get the gun out of this if it's not on my waist. It just kind of snaps perfectly around the trigger area. And you basically are just carrying your gun on your waist with this with no holster is kind of what it feels like. I'm not a huge fan of this because it digs in pretty bad. You do feel the Kydex or whatever digging in, or you know, whatever you want to call this. You feel the grip material kind of digging a little more into your side, some of the switches, stuff like this. It doesn't cover up very much, and that's the nature and the entire point of this holster. I'm just not a big fan of it. It doesn't really seem to print any less than my leather holster. Maybe if I was wearing like spandex or something, there'd be a difference. But I don't see any huge advantage to this other than it's almost impossible for the gun to accidentally come out of this. I mean, you could probably get in a car crash and it would still remain in this holster, no problem, as I will demonstrate now. Yeah, takes some strength. I don't know, but it seems like that might also scratch up your gun over time just because of how rough and tough that holster is. So last but not least, I'll just comment on feel. You know, I think this is sort of in between the feel of a Glock, which is extremely blocky and seems like a gun that you could get in like Minecraft or something, and the feel of a nice, you know, form-fitting hammer-fired pistol like this Bursa. Admittedly, the Bursa does feel a little bit nicer in the hand overall, or, you know, any kind of hammer-fired gun like this. It feels very nice, but I feel, you know, a little bit more like I'm gripping something a little more utility, whereas guns like this feel a bit like a work of art. They're very cushioned and comfortable. That's perfectly fine, though, for an everyday carry. Like I said, it's not as blocky as a Glock. It has to be a little bit blocky by nature to be a good concealed carry gun, or else you're going to be adding unnecessary width to make it more round. But it's not so much that it feels like you're shooting a brick. So I'm happy with the feel of this gun overall. And that's really it. I've probably left a few things out. I'm not a professional gun reviewer. You know, I think the action is really smooth. It's been reliable. I haven't had a single misfire with this yet, even when shooting it brand new, which can often happen on a brand new gun. The only complaint I have, and this was mentioned in another video, was the trigger may actually not fire. And this is actually a pretty big complaint. If you happen to get it at a strange angle, so what I mean by that is if you kind of grab it on the side and almost flex it out and grab the safety, the trigger will lock up. Well, it just kind of unlocked up, but it can sometimes lock up and be, you know, stubborn and not want to fire. If you grab it like you would in 99% of, you know, situations, it'll squeeze down just fine, and I'm not going to dry fire this again. You have to take my word for it. But if you hit it weirdly from the side, it can lock up. You see how it won't move there? So I saw, and it'll move fine like that. I saw another YouTuber mention this, and he got kind of flamed in the comments of his video But you know, a trigger is a trigger. It should work regardless of what you do. I mean, this Bursa does not have a safety built into the trigger, but I can do that and it'll still go. You know, even if I'm hitting the trigger safety, but it's like this trigger safety itself kind of locks up in the whole trigger if you get this at just the wrong angle. So once again, that's kind of splitting hairs. I really don't think there's any real life scenario where you draw this thing and you need to shoot it for some reason that you're going to be like holding it like this and, you know, whatever this is. I don't think it's probably going to happen. But for some people, that might be a major problem and it'll steer them away from buying this gun. And I completely understand that. Other than that, I actually don't have any other negative marks. I mean, it is a, you know, basically micro compact 380 size pistol that can carry 15 rounds with a sight mag extension of 9mm. So what can you complain about? It shoots great. It has great sights. It seems very reliable. It looks decent enough. You know, if you complain about this, I think you are quite spoiled and very lucky to have much better guns. But for anything that this, you know, is this size, I really don't think you can ask for more. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is my first ever Springfield, and I'm very satisfied with it. I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your support. Hope you can like and subscribe. And yeah, goodbye.